Now, I remember the Iranian generals were saying that our ships were going to end at the bottom of the ocean, and that's theirs. Like, look at that again. It's on the screen right now. Boom. You know, like, I love it. You know, it's pretty toxic for a Democrat to say I happen to agree with the president on really anything at this point. But again, find someone that opposes this, saying they've all said we can never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb. Then what's your, and that seems like that's happening. Why can't you just acknowledge that's a good thing? Why not? Why can't? Why can't you just say that? You know, it's like, this is 47 years. It's like sanctions and treaties and all kinds of other negotiations and everything. Nothing's worked, and that's the case. So why can't we all just say the world is safer and it's more just now because of that, what this happens? You don't have to agree on everything, but it's like, yes, I'm the only Democrat because I'm not afraid of my base to just say, you know what, this was overall a good thing. You don't have to agree on everything. So I'm going to be honest. So, like, why can't you just acknowledge that one of the most evil people on the face of the earth was erased? That's a good thing. Like, look at that again. It's on the screen right now. Boom.
Do you think it's okay for the U.S. to bomb an Iranian naval ship in international waters?
I think the world's better that he's dead now, and I think it's a good thing now that Iran will never acquire a nuclear bomb.
What about the naval ship today, though?
Reliable trails to have that, and if they think it's a good idea to have a nuclear bomb, really disagree on that.
Is it okay for the U.S. to bomb naval ships without a declaration of war, though?
I'm sorry, I support killing the Iranian leadership.
I'm not talking about leadership.
Why wasn't he upset about the way they killed all the Iranians? Why wasn't he upset about it? He wasn't angry about
Who's he?
killing the thousands and thousands of young Iranians. He didn't seem bothered by that.
Who's he, Senator?
Like, look at that again. It's on the screen right now. Boom.
Fox News has pushed for this war. Its owners personally have pushed for it, personally. And of course, its employees on the channel have pushed for it with such aggression and unanimity that as of tonight, there is not a single on-air Fox personality who is going to question going to war with Iran. There are some who may have reservations. There was one on a weekend show who very bravely spoke up and said, is this a good idea? That was the last time this topic was discussed on that weekend show. Because the order has gone down to Fox employees, we are in favor of this war. And that is very obvious if you watch it. Now, one of the main cheerleaders for an invasion of Iraq and every other invasion and every other instance of shedding of human blood, just a killing in general, would of course be Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. Now, if you don't watch Fox, you may have no idea what he actually says when he goes on Fox, which is all the time. So we want to play you a short montage of Lindsey Graham, and watch as you watch this, his eyes. And you can see that he is, maybe for the first time that day, feeling elevated and light and happy, but also tantalized. You can almost watch his mouth fill with saliva. Some people feel this way in strip bars, others in bakeries. Lindsey Graham is excited by killing. And if you think that's cruel, watch this.
Change is coming to Iran. It'll be the biggest change in the history of the Mideast to get rid of this Nazi regime.
Hit Iran. They have oil fields out in the open. They have the Revolutionary Guard headquarters you can see from space. Blow it off the map.
There's an opportunity to hit the Iran nuclear program in a fashion I haven't seen in decades, and I think it would be in the world's interest for us to decimate the Iranian nuclear threat while we can. Be all in, President Trump, in helping Israel eliminate the nuclear threat. If we need to provide bombs to Israel, provide bombs. If we need to fly planes with Israel, do joint operations. So pray for our troops in harm's way. There are risks associated with any operation. They join the military to keep their country safe and to make the world a better place. And taking on the Ayatollah does both.
If I were you, Mr. President, I would kill the leadership that are killing the people.
And to the Ayatollahs, you need to understand, if you keep killing your people who are demanding a better life, Donald J. Trump is going to kill you.
I mean, now you can look at that and say, you know, this guy's risking his soul talking like this. This guy's wrong on the evidence. This guy's clearly a buffoon with some kind of psychosexual problems that we're not qualified to diagnose, but that are totally evident. But you should also keep in mind as you watch Lindsey Graham, that he's taken very seriously by his colleagues in the Senate, not just the Republicans, but also the Democrats, and he's taken very seriously by Republicans in Washington more broadly. Of course he is. He's taken very seriously. This has an effect. And that effect could get us into, you know, certainly the worst war in 23 years. So the idea is to flood the zone, the information zone, to make sure that no Republican in Washington hears anything but that. And the proponents of this war are very intent on that. They've made no effort to convince you it's a good idea. They are staying up night and day convincing the decision makers it's a good idea.
And the idea is that the United States government is controlled by the Jews. That is essentially the claim that he is making. Megyn Kelly has also jumped on this bandwagon, apparently for the clicks and giggles of it.
No one should have to die for a foreign country. I don't think those 4 service members died for the United States. I think they died for Iran or for Israel. I think I understand how this helps Iran perfectly well. I get it. I mean, I hope. Long term, we'll see. But they seem rather jubilant. 80% of the country does not support the Ayatollah. He was a terrible, terrible man. No one's crying that he's dead. No normal person. But our government's job is not to look out for Iran or for Israel. It's to look out for us. And this feels very much to me like it is clearly Israel's war. Mark Levin wanted it. It's his war. Ben Shapiro, Lindsey Graham, Miriam Adelson. That's obvious.
Okay, so first of all, the ugly suggestion that Mark Levin is somehow a traitor to the United States, that it's Israel's war, and Mark Levin wanted it because it's Israel's war, or I want it, or Lindsey Graham, or Miriam Adelson. Really disgusting stuff from Megyn Kelly, but predictable at this point. You know whose war this is? President Donald J. Trump's war. He's the president of the United States. He commands the United States military. She is such a coward. She is such an unbelievable coward. You don't like President Trump? You don't like what he's saying? Just say his name. Hey, by the way, here's how Candace Owens spent her crazy day yesterday.
Charlie was removed, and in his place, we got a Shabbat Shalomin, not so grieving widow. This is the book my Charlie wanted you to read. He just finished it. He loves the Jews. He just finished speaking about how much he loves to Shabbat and to Shalom and to say daddy's home and to throw down his phone, Barry Weiss.
We are months into Megyn Kelly's silence on this. Months. After all, according to Megyn Kelly, she would rather die than condemn Candace. Very strange for what reasons Megyn will go to the wall. Very, very, very strange. Very strange indeed. Meanwhile, MTG still wandering the wilds, but of course has a home on Megyn Kelly's show where she can spew her nonsense. Here she was implying that President Trump is going to hell.
Megyn, this really needs to be said. Donald Trump has said repeatedly on camera and in interviews, he doesn't think he's going to heaven. Well, I want to ask a question, a serious question. What is in his mind? What is his mental state? If he doesn't think he's going to heaven and he is a man towards the end, he's in the 4th quarter, he's towards the end of his life. How does that pan out for the rest of us when we have a president of the United States who doesn't think and is convinced he's not going to heaven? What does that mean his decision-making is?
You don't get to ask those questions. What's wrong with you, Mom? Why are you so scared?
This disgusting conspiratorial nonsense. My goodness. How the horseshoe right has gotten uglier and uglier day in and day out. Astonishing stuff.
Okay, it may work in PR world. You guys, I know how it's an obvious PR campaign. It's never been more obvious of a psychological operation. I actually wish they would put me on payroll so I could help them make these things look more organic than having every single person that has been telling us to stop asking questions all make the exact same video within 4 seconds of each other, being like, whoa, Erica Kirk shuts down. No, she didn't even respond to one of the conspiracies. She gave us emotion.
Here's the thing that people aren't telling you. And this matters because we've had a lot of, we've been involved with a lot of military interventions that aren't just Iraq. The polls change dramatically. The support changes dramatically when you take this poll, when the survey takes into account duration of conflict.
Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily think this is going to be a short conflict. Look at this. A lot of people think it might take months. Some people think it might take years, and there are a lot who are not sure. Now, the reason that is important is if you think it's going to be a long conflict, months, even years, look at how the numbers tilt toward disapproval of it overall.
They just skim past that. No, but hold on a second. Look at approval. If the conflict lasts days or weeks, 76% approval.
Massive.
Now, let's be clear. That has been the stated goal of this administration. If they don't achieve that goal, it means there's a miscalculation. And I would say that was a strategic mistake. But they've been pretty clear that their goal is for this to be swift and it's to be short. Historically, as opposed to Iraq, when that is the case, campaigns militarily are unbelievably popular. As a matter of fact, you seldom find this kind of unifying data anywhere else. Let me give you some examples. Grenada, 63%, it was 51 days. Panama, 77% support, it was 55 days. Desert Storm, 77% support, 42 days. The Yugoslavia bombing, 62%, it was 78 days. And just so you know, while Iraq was going on, in the early days, it had 71% approval while people were under the impression that it would be short, like those many other examples that I listed.
Right.
Not all of them are Iraq. Iraq is kind of an outlier, just like Vietnam, which is why it's often a study. It's something that you separate. It's an outlier.
Yeah.
What you draw up on a whiteboard rarely happens. What you think theoretically is going to occur, there might be unintended and unforeseen consequences, especially when you're talking about a country 2.5 times the size of Texas and has 90 million people and was an ancient and great power with well over a dozen ethnic groups. Who's going to run the country exactly, Lindsey Graham? This sounds like Hillary Rodham Clinton in Libya. So I'm pointing to the first extreme right now, the neoconservative extreme, the we must go take off the head of the snake right now. And Donald Trump is doing a phenomenal job of resisting these calls for regime change. Yeah, the Ayatollah is awful, but maybe he's one of the few guys that can keep that country together and not have a 90 million person civil war. I honestly don't think the neoconservative extreme needs to be represented philosophically anymore. It's uninteresting to me. They've done a mess of Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, the entire Middle East, Ukraine. We know what the neoconservatives believe.
Despite us being able to clearly hear what Charlie felt about Iran, about the idea of regime change in Iran, his best friends, the amazing McCoy and, of course, wargaming Blake Neff, actually got into his studio and shared this.
He also always did have trust with the president, and he would look for the bright side of things. And he was an American patriot, so he would pray for our success once that began. In private, he would be not happy with the situation, and he would express his thoughts. You'd oftentimes see him talk about it on the show. But then as soon as this would happen, he would have trust in the president. He would try to calm people down. And so it's really irritating for me to see so many people on social media have the opposite reaction, to use his voice to actually cause chaos, to actually cause fear of the situation, to actually cause hatred of President Trump in this whole ordeal, when actually that's not what he would want.
It really is just amazing to watch it. It's shameless, like I said. After Operation Midnight Hammer, which was Trump agreeing on a limited strike on Iran's nuclear sites, we told you the truth back then. They wanted a full-scale war. That's what Bibi wanted. That's what the Zionists around Trump wanted. And the one person who stood between America's involvement with a full-scale war in Iran was Charlie Kirk. If Charlie Kirk was at the White House and he convinced Trump that it was a terrible idea that would crater his support and ruin his legacy. Bibi and his minions, they were angry about that. It is my personal belief that that is the very reason that they colluded to have that obstacle eventually removed just months later.
We should think about prioritizing all of the issues that we have in America. You want to talk about an invasion? Let's talk about the one that's happening at our border every single day. That's what we mean when we say America first, okay? We have plenty of issues to solve. Not a single red cent should be sent overseas until we fix what's happening here in the United States. Thank you for your question.
I'll add one thing. Just Candace makes a fabulous point that needs to be repeated and repeated. A country that cannot determine what a woman is should not go to war.
How embarrassing. How embarrassing.
This is This is a general rule for conflict. If you have a domestic crisis where you are not able to agree on basic truths, you are not a nation ready to go forward.
China's writing articles, their newspapers, they're literally writing articles mocking America about how we don't know what bathroom to go into, right? About how we sent the full force of the military to shoot down a Hobby Lobby balloon, right? If you think that the embarrassment that Russia is embarrassed, you haven't been paying attention to what's happening in America. Honestly, we become a mock. We're being mocked in the eastern corridor.
And I'll go even a step further. It's a tragic geopolitical mistake that Russia is not neutral, if not an ally, with us against the Chinese Communist Party. All this saber rattling that it's the Cold War and Russia against us. It didn't have to be this way. Donald Trump
Cold War hangover. It's Cold War hangover.
Donald Trump had it in the right position. The Chinese Communist Party is the great threat against the West and American liberty, and now they have a gas station. The Chinese Communist Party now has more oil reserves than they know what to do with in a great super alliance that we helped create.
Please study the pipelines. Really understand. This is not about scoring points. This is not about running an article on CNN and Washington Post saying, "Oh, look, we embarrassed." You need to study the map of the pipelines and understand exactly what he is talking about when he is saying the threat of an alliance between Russia and China.
You know how rare it is for someone with Candace's platform to actually talk about these issues one after the other? You see, the corporate media, they want people like Candace just to say the same thing over and over again, right? Dr. Fauci, may his, sainthood forever be a blessing, or whatever you're supposed to say, right? George Floyd, thank you, for what you've done for us, or whatever, right? Zelensky is the new church, or whatever ridiculous thing that they're trying to say, right? Which is what they're saying, right? Instead, Candace is like, you know what? No, I have this platform, and I'm going to say things that are true, and I don't care what you say back to me. And you don't see that at all, actually. In fact, that sort of courage is very, very rare in America, and it deserves to be applauded, truly. It's really special. So, all right, let's get to some questions here, and we're going to form a line. So we're going to start to kind of do single file there. Raise your hand, please. Thank you. You guys can just start doing a line right there for those of you that want to ask questions. So don't raise your question. No, you go into the line. That's okay. Go into the line if you have a question. So this is a majority conservative center-right audience, right? So here's some ground rules. If someone asks a question that you find to be reprehensible or disagree with, don't shout them down. Don't interrupt them. Let them get the question out. It takes some courage to come to a place that's mostly conservative and ask a question. We are going to show the left courtesy and respect, even though they don't show us that same courtesy and respect when we speak, okay?
Also, this week, war. Did you hear about that thing? We bombed Iran, and it's going on. Now, have you expected me to say I hate it? I don't. Sorry. When he puts boots on the ground, yeah, then I'll hate it. Now, I know too many happy Iranian Americans. Sorry. And you cannot name one horrible thing that has happened in the Middle East in the last 50 years and not connect it to this fascist theocracy. They're like 6 degrees of they don't eat bacon. So I'm not saying... And it's popular. I mean, Iranians all over the world are doing the Trump dance. Have you seen that? He tweets about the war. There will be no deal until we have unconditional surrender, important statement to be put out. An hour later, 8 posts about me. I'm not joking. An hour later. And what happened with the Valentine's Day massacre and his tweet about that, which I'll be talking about at the end of the show. But, okay, this is today. And then 15 minutes later, again, back to the war. We are moving thousands of people out of the Middle East to safer places. Okay, an important message to get out. Then back to me. The people at Mediaite wrote a headline that said, "Here's why Trump is raging at Bill Maher in the middle of an actual war." Why? Tell me. This is getting weird. I'm just telling you. Thank God I didn't spend the night.